go.
Get ready, hold tight. It's
Hold on to your hats, boys.
Libos. Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week.
Just what the flipping Nora are your lot doing?
I'm still in there. I'm still right behind him.
It was just a very well thought out tactical plan by Danny.
I want go!
I can literally feel the steam coming out your ears.
So it's like a fun little post-game snack.
The Wednesday Week!
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week. Last Friday night under the lights, the Owls made the trip over the Pennines to visit Turf Moor, where they faced the unenviable task of attempting to end Burnley's record-breaking run of clean sheets. Whilst the stats may not tell the tale of the game, there's little denying that for those who didn't see it, it would appear as though we took an absolute hiding. Tonight, we're going to discuss whether we were better than the scoreline suggests, or whether once again we fluffed our lines against a team vying for promotion. Now, as you'll have gathered, I'm not Dan Fudge. He's off, having the night off and may or may not be currently undergoing some sort of experimental cryogenic treatment as he continues to accept the fact, or refuse to accept the fact, that he is no longer in his mid-20s. With me tonight, I have the old guard in Ash and John, and I'm absolutely delighted to introduce a new face to the TWW Europa League squad in Beth of Women's Supporters Group fame. Beth, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I've got a late call. I'm a last-minute transfer, so I've not even had time to get nervous. So let's do it.
It was 100% the equivalent of Harry Redknapp in a car park. You were Peter Odemwingie, just putting yourself out there, getting in as.
I rolled down my window and it was Dan Fudge.
Yeah. I'm going to avoid making any jokes about car parks and any sort of phallic symbols or anything like that, and let's just move on very quickly. John, evening, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, not bad, thanks, Stevie. Pretty decent weekend, even results aside. So we'd had a few days off work, so yeah, back to it today, and that's life, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. It never stops. I'm back at work myself after half-term break, where I feel like I've spent the week waiting for Burnley, expecting some sort of shock result, a decent performance out of us, which we may or may not have got. We'll get into that, but as soon as you know it, we're over it, and we're back into the weekend, and then it's back to work, back to the grindstone today. So it comes and comes. Ash, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks, mate. Yeah, I think I'm suffering a little bit. I think I'm coming down with a dreaded flu or something like. But yeah, I'm battling on, mate. Yeah, good weekend. Yeah.
Well, we're going to get into it. As we've said, it's the four of us, a bit of a fresh face in terms of the lineup that we've got. As we always do, though, on a Monday night, we'd like to invite you to get your comments in. And whilst we're doing it, like and subscribe on all the social medias and all the channels that we've normally got. And we'll see if we can make some entertainment for you out the next hour or so. We're going to start with Burnley then. Going into the game, John, I'm going to start with you. What were your expectations of the fixture on Friday night?
Yeah, a strange one, really, because they've got this tremendous defensive record that you can't help but hear about, because they've just gone on this ridiculous run and not conceding any goals. And I think it was something like 11 clean sheets or something like that Trafford had kept. But also, they weren't like the most free scoring team. A lot of the games would be like 1-0 victories. So I always thought, I don't know why, because we've had his issues goal scoring, and we all know that, Ugbo's been on this horrific run, but when something's so extreme one way and something's so extreme the other way, you sometimes come to this like crazy situation where you think, actually, we're going to win and Ugbo's going to get the winner. People were like touting it, weren't they, on social media, and we had a bit of a laugh about it ourselves in the chat. So, although it was a very, very stern test and I knew it was going to be a difficult game, I had this blind optimism that we might just nick it. I was confident, to be honest, that we might get something, but we'll get into it.
Well, optimism. Beth, expectations going into Friday night?
I was really nervous. I guess this is the kind of season, kind of post-Christmas, post like early January, when you kind of start to get a grasp of what your season could be. Because I found a lot of the fixtures kind of over Christmas, over like early Jan, just a bit like, oh, I don't really know what to want or what to expect. But as we're kind of closing down towards the end of the season now, I was really nervous for this. And I do agree with John. There was a kind of like a bit of something in the back of my head kind of being like, maybe we could do it. So I was actually really anxious on Friday night. I was feeling quite unbearable watching it. Yeah, overriding nerves for sure.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Ash, myself, yourself, we made the trip over to the Pennines, didn't we? Sort of mid-afternoon, got there in time to see the sights and sounds of sunny Burnley. How did you find the trip over to Burnley?
Yeah, it was all right actually for a Friday afternoon. I don't know what I was more nervous of, for the game or actually going to Burnley, to tell you the truth. It's a ground I've ticked off now. I've not been before, so that's one of the reasons I wanted to go. But yeah, it was a good journey over. Not so much traffic. Got there about 6:15, something like that. So plenty of time to sample the nightlife. Friday nightlife in Burnley. It's much like every other city centre, I think. So yeah, I was the same as everyone else. Apprehensive, nervous. All day on Friday, you did listen to media outlets and on social media about the great run. 1,100 minutes Trafford, 11 clean sheets. They're only 3 off the all-time record. They've got the record in the Championship, but off Manchester United's in 2008, something like that, I believe. So up against it, aren't we? And we haven't been the most free-flowing, free scoring team, have we? So, and yeah, I echo what John said about the social media. Optimism, is that a word? I think I just think that EK Ugbo's going to break his 28-game unbeaten, unscorable run, and we win 1-0, 90 plus 6 minutes. I think I've seen someone put, but yeah, tough ask against Burnley.
Okay, well, let's get into it then. I'm gonna kick off with a sort of a preamble question, if you like. We've got the sort of the niceties out of the way. We're looking at Friday night, and at time of kickoff, we were within touching distance of the playoffs, and I'm going to say it. We were within touching distance of the playoffs, and you'll have your opinion one way or another as to whether or not we've got a realistic opportunity of getting into the top 6. I'm going to throw this question out to all of you and then come to you individually, if that's all right. Were you looking at the league beforehand, thinking it was a must-win game if we were going to stay in touch? Was it a big deal to you? Were you worried about that potential playoff chase? And if things weren't going to sort of pan out in our favour on Friday night, were you of the mind that that'd be it, John?
It's a great question because what a table gazing. I'm not so sure, but one thing that was evident is that we've got this run of fixtures now that we're going through. I've obviously started with Burnley. We've got Sunderland next. We've got United on the horizon. So I weren't necessarily looking at cementing or keeping in touch with the playoffs per se. But by the same token, I realise that if we don't get some results from these next run of fixtures, we might just be a little bit too far out of the equation with time running out and games running out, so to speak, with March on the horizon as well. So I wasn't really thinking it was a must win, but by the same token, we should. I was hoping and hopeful. That's why I went for 1-1 in the prediction, that we might come away with something, because these next run of fixtures, as I said, are really tough on paper. And if we start to nosedive a bit on these fixtures, then we might just have too much to do in the running.
Yeah, I take your point. We have got a tough run of fixtures coming up there, John. Beth, the same question to you. You were obviously new to the pod. Are you of the opinion that playoffs are a realistic proposition? Do you want safety in mid-table, consolidation from last season? Do you want to take the opportunity that's presenting itself potentially as it is now? And if so, how did you think Friday's sort of fixture and result factored into that?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Of course, I've kind of dreamt about the playoffs. I've kind of thought, it is that close. It is kind of 2 points, 3 points away at times. But again, like John, I wrote for my column for Football League World last week that this is the make or break bit, I guess, this 5-game run that we've got. Because not only is it kind of Burnley and Sunderland and the derby, but there's 2 horrible away games in the middle of that. So I think as it stands right now, I'm like, it's just not happening. But I have probably been maybe a little bit too fatalistic about, that's the first of those 5 horrible games. It's quite embarrassing on paper, and now it looks really far away. I'd love to do it, but I think ultimately we need some sustainability with a season. If you look at a relegation battle, 2 playoffs, another relegation, like, for the sake of the sustainability of the club and the project, I do think it's better if we don't absolutely steam towards playoffs and treat it like it's the be all and end all.
I have some very strong opinions on that have been well documented. And I'm probably, being that I'm hosting tonight, I'm going to sort of pause for now.
No, stop that. Come on, tell us. Come on, have a go at Beth. Come on, Stevie. I can see you. Come on. Just because she's new. Just because she's new. Come on.
I'm just easing her in. We don't want to upset Bernadette before 8:15. I'm very much of the opinion, just very quickly, that the opportunity to get promoted won't present itself every season, and I do worry about what next season looks like. And if there's an opportunity for us to go up, we take it. I absolutely believe that, and I absolutely agree with everything that you're saying, Beth. I don't think we are infrastructure-wise set to get promoted. I don't think we're ready for it. I think it'll be a tough season. It'll be a hard pre-season from a recruitment point of view, and the expectations of the fan base if we did get up next year, and it's a massive if at this stage. What does it look like for us? We can barely sort of contain ourselves when it comes to us losing a game of football and the mind getting a hiding week in, week out from the likes of Man City, Man United, Newcastle, etc. But my overriding feeling is if we can get that opportunity to get up, we need to try and get up. Ash, I'm going to give you the last word on the potential playoff push as was Friday afternoon. Where did you see it in terms of the game itself? Was it a game that we must have won to stand a chance? And how do things look now that we're 3 days removed?
If you take the view of that, obviously playoffs were a real possibility, then from now until the end of or middle of May, is it? Then it's every game's a must-win, isn't it? If you're taking that mindset, you've got to. If you're looking at that, the run of 5 games that it's well documented into, we've got a bit of a horrendous run, but we have got. I believe we've got Norwich and Plymouth. We've got Sunderland who have announced they have a couple of players missing for Friday. No, I don't think it was. I did predict, I think it was a 2-0 loss for us on our predictions. I just felt that away from home we have been better this season, but Burnley, they've the stats don't lie, and I love stats. So anyone listening, it wasn't. It was a hard ask, but then all games are going to be hard, aren't they? For 3-4 points off the playoffs, we're there on merit. We're not there. I said at the start of the season I would be more than happy with 12th to 14th, and I still stick by that because of where we've come. And a lot of people showed this graphic. I think it was Sky Sports graphic of Danny Roll took over, and then it went up incrementally up to where we were, where we were. We're not now, and everyone's going, "Oh, what great progression!" But if you'd have stuck us at 11th on that map, it's still great progression. So wherever we finish, I think people that have looked at that and think, yes, we've done great. Even if we finish 11th, I think the progression from where we are is great. And I know that sounds a bit defeatist and I'm settling and all that sort of stuff, but we've got to be a bit realistic. And I agree with what everyone else has said is that we're not, it's hard because you're going back to faults with the ownership and the club and all that. we're not set up, are we? I mean, for no doubt 40,000 Wednesdayites to go to the playoff final, what a great day out. I've still got a hangover from the League One, but we just, and I'm sure we'd make it do, and the journey and all that sort of stuff that is better than the destination for the Premier League. But yeah, I think not this season. But I'd take it. Of course I would. I mean, a mate of mine asked me, would I take a playoff? I was, of course I would. I'd have a right weekend in London, but just not ready for it.
No. Okay, right. Let's do it then. Burnley, Friday night. What were we? 8 o'clock. So 7 o'clock, the team comes out. Beth, I'm going to come to you. Here is our lineup for Friday night. We started with Beadle in goal, back four of Valerie, Ihekwe, Lowe, Johnson, in at left back, Shea Charles and Bannon in that holding sort of middle two, Armstrong in front with Windass, Gassama either side, and Michael Smith up top. What were your thoughts on that 11, Beth, as we got the news at 7 o'clock?
I was happy with it. I'm quite fond of this tactic we seem to have adopted of starting Ugbo, letting him kind of tire out the centre halves and then bringing Smith on to kind of have a go when they're a little bit more tired. So to be honest, maybe it was an Ugbo game to start. That would have been my only criticism, really. I think, obviously, with the situation we're in with injuries, that position aside, I haven't really got any issues. I'm happy with that.
Yeah. John, happy with the team?
Yeah, to be honest, Stevie, I were. When looking at that, I don't, apart from the well-documented centre backs that we've got missing, that's a really strong-looking side that we put out there. You'd struggle to find a better side from players that he didn't select, other than the ones that obviously couldn't select because they were injured. So, and I mean, Lowe's come into that centre half position fantastically well. Considering, his stature to play that position as well, he's done outstanding. Roll's done brilliantly, and to slot him in and make him like a makeshift centre half there, and obviously Armstrong, the more game time that he's getting, the sharper he's starting to look. He's still a little bit to go, in my opinion, but he's getting there, and he brings that extra experience to a midfield which we were lacking for when we get suspensions or injuries to Charles O'Bannon. So yeah. On paper, I thought it looked a really strong squad for us. Team, sorry. Yeah.
What about you, Ash? Were you happy with that starting 11? Should Ugbo have started in front of Smith, given everything that we'd sort of said?
Right. I've come to the decision about I can't really question the starting lineup because I'm invested and want Rule to bring out the best in players, and we believe in the manager, so you've got to believe in what he's doing and tactics. I've just mentioned this graph of this progression, and if he thinks Smith should start over Ugbo or Ugbo to start over Smith, that's his decision. And when he started Ugbo and then Smith's come on and it's worked, hasn't it? We've all said calling for Smith to start. There must be a reason, and yeah, I'm a championship manager. I'm not a football manager or anything like that. I play on the Amiga back in the day, but I've just got to agree with what he's doing. I think because we all want that, and I can't say he gives two hoots about what I'm saying about the team anyway, but I'm sure he's setting up for a specific reason. And more times out there. And I don't get this thing about, obviously he's changed it at half time sometimes, hasn't it? Where people have said, he's obviously got it tactically wrong, so he's bringing people on 45 minutes or whatever. I just think it's a hard one. I think there is the thing of you've got one fit centre back, so what are you going to do? Sorry, two. I've just seen, Gary's just mentioned about Octabeo. Obviously he's a centre half, but is he not ready? I've not been massively impressed with him, but he's playing makeshift left and right wing backs and left and right back as a three, aren't they? So
the Octabeo one. Sorry, mate. The Octabeo one is something I want to pull out as we get through the game, and so I've got a couple of viewpoints myself, but I want to sort of throw those out to the panel, if you like, as we get through it. If you're watching and you are on YouTube or Facebook, whatever social media platform it is that you're engaging with us on, I'd like to hear from you in terms of your viewpoints on the first half performance, how we set up, how we started, how it felt as we went through the game. Because in the earliest sort of the early knock-ins of that first half, I actually felt like it was a game standing in that sort of away end. It felt like it was a game that we could potentially get something out of. And if you go back and look at the highlights, the first couple are the Ihekwe chance on the 4th minute, where he sort of leant away and stuck his foot out, and it's ever so slightly glanced the outside of the post there. And then the second one was the Armstrong chance that's just glanced wide, with the chance that's gone over that he's just sort of nudged past the post there. Both of those coming in the first sort of 16, 17 minutes. At that point, Beth, did you think it was a game where we were sort of overperforming, if you like? We had control of the game. Was there a renewed sort of feeling of optimism in the Team Beth household?
Yeah, I was tearing my hair out a bit, to be honest. I was like, this is just so us. This is so, we're going to come to this incredible team and play really well. I feel like the game felt like, especially in that first kind of segment where we were playing really well, it kind of just felt like, the cheesy blockbuster version of our season so far. It's like, we're going to come out and we're going to be really, really good, but then be really, really flat. It felt like just like that on steroids. So, yeah, I was tearing my hair out that first half, or the first half of the first half. Yeah, I was really, really hoping we could do something and making a lot of really loud noises, despite being home alone on a Friday night.
I think the first 40 minutes I thought was probably as good as we could have played without scoring. I know thing, but we could have played better if we just scored. I meant, but the feedback after the game and the couple of days after from Burnley fans were that was probably the best away team they'd seen in 45 minutes. Yes, I know that Edwards scored late on, but that they'd seen all season, and that is put it on the honours board. I know it's not. It doesn't win you 3 points.
Hey, we don't do
that. but it is some sort of comfort that we are in the right direction and we are putting up a performance like that against a team that have been notoriously stingy, 9 goals all season, and we just couldn't finish. And that's not from the back to the middle. That's the chances up front that. For all we've had a go, not had a go, but we've talked about defensively, and we've said we've light at the back. We should have brought a centre half. Yes, we conceded 4, but I think over the last 5 or 6 games, I don't think the defence have been that bad. It's been the other end of the field. So for me, first half, it was, we should have scored 2 goals. Should have scored 2. Armstrong had a great chance. And I think Windass had a chance. But yeah, in Ihekwe, in the first 5 minutes when he like stabbed the ball, I thought it was quite a good bit of technical thing. I thought he did quite well there.
He adjusted his body a little bit, didn't he? He readjusted his body there and just sort of leant. Yeah, I thought it was decent as well.
Yeah, another 45 minutes, a different 45 minutes. We could have gone in 2-0, not 1-0 down.
Yeah, before the goal, I was, again, like Ash, was at the game trying to thinking about where their sort of the threats were coming. And I've gone back and had a look at the highlights. I cannot recollect, before that Edwards chance that hits the bar, I can't recollect them having any sort of threat towards our goal. John, when that happened, did you sort of feel that might have been a turning point in the game? I know it was only sort of mid-first half. Did you think here's a turning point in the game and now we need to sort of batten down the hatches because they're going to start coming after?
100%. Yeah, it's like what Beth were alluding to earlier, where it's one of them games where we're dominating, because that's the right word. We were dominating that first half. We were absolutely in control. A lot of the time when they got the ball, they were going nowhere. The fans were getting on the back because they were passing it backwards and sideways, which not all fans like, but we were totally in control. But the missed chances, it was just set up for Sucker Punch 3, where it's like a movie trilogy or something. Here comes another one. And when their lad gets it down the right hand side there, somebody's left him, haven't they? They've not followed his run, and he's allowed to get into the box and then jink his way. Had a bit of fortune as well, because Shea Charles, did try and make a successful challenge, but didn't get the rub of the green. Runs back into Edwards' path, and is able to scoop it into the roof of the net. And then you're thinking, right, this is inevitable now. What's going to happen? We've had all these chances. We should be 2, maybe 3-0 up. They've gone in front right at a bad time as well, literally about 3 minutes before half time or something like that. And now you're thinking, right, we're almost chasing the game out, especially given their defensive record as well. You're thinking it's going to be doubly hard now. So I do think it was I know goals change games. It's an old cliche, but it's absolutely true. I do think it was the turning point in the game and made it that much harder for us to get anything out of as it transpired.
Ash, just on the goal, I'm going to come back to you if that's all right, because we were in the ground and we were at the game, and I don't know about you. I think you were looking at the socials. I think you were just down on that corner behind the corner flag there, weren't you?
I was the worst seats I think I've ever had on an away. Our first row I was.
Oh really?
But I was talking. So yeah, it was right against Bannister, but I had a good chat with some of the disabled supporters down in the front.
Yeah.
I'll mention something in a bit about that.
Yeah, I was tucked away a little bit more central behind the goal, in between the post and the pillar, if you like. So I was sort of level with the 18-yard box. When Windass lunged in to make that challenge, I don't know about you, and it might be a viewpoint sort of thing, but I just had this horrible feeling. If I'd have been with somebody, because I travelled on my own, if I'd have been with somebody, I'd have turned to them and gone, excuse my French, Mum, shit, we're going to concede here. I don't know how you felt about it, but it just seemed to have all the sort of the everything was setting up for us to concede after we played so well in the 43rd minute and an unnecessary free kick that we conceded. What were your viewpoints on the goal and the sort of the team build up to it?
So my viewpoint was walking under the men's toilet sign that goes, Ash is an old man now. He's had a pint before the game. He needs to go to the toilet before half time.
How many times a season do you do it?
So I'll not exactly tell you what I was looking at, because it's a family show.
Please don't do that.
But I have seen the highlights. Frustrating, isn't it? You've got that last 5 minutes, 40 minutes plus. You've got that, what they say, the worst time to concede. You've got that. And I thought, looking at and I may be wrong and everything, I didn't quite understand, but he plays a 1-2 into the box, and there was Mark Johnson and Bannon both like just off, and not either of them checked the runner, like Edwards, wasn't it? None of them that checked, and I was like, oh, and then you look at it, and then Bannon was pointing, and Johnson was just there, and it's like, come on, lads, and he just lifted it into the roof of it, and I'm not blaming any of the like Beadle or anything like that, because it was a good finish, but it's just the defensive mindset lacks of it. Whereas we saw the opposite with Burnley, and for every touch and everything corner that they were like celebrating like it was a goal, weren't they? It was every block, anything that and it just seemed like we weren't at that level of putting the body on the line. Yes, it's the last couple of minutes of the half, but you got to keep switched on for 120 plus 3, aren't you? We know this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was really disappointed, but going in, yes, 1-0. We should have been 2-0 up. We should have been cruising, and then second half it is one of those where thing. But we've gone in with a different mindset, and obviously Danny's maybe his team talk at half time was a little bit different from the earlier on. What would have been?
Yeah. Well, we'll get onto that. We'll get onto that, mate. Just while I give you the opportunity to have a look at a couple of comments that have starred. I'm going to ask Beth a question just on Edwards. It was his first start for Burnley. What did you make of him? I know we're a Wednesday podcast, but I just think it's a good opportunity for us to sort of open up that discussion now in terms of levels. You know, with the best win in the world, we're bringing on Sissoko second half, and we'll discuss that. They're bringing on Edwards, and where, like I said, there's levels to it, aren't they? He's a good player, isn't he?
He's ridiculous, and I was furious when Burnley got him. I've seen him in the Champions League be really good, and I don't know if you've seen this week. Burnley, I've only seen clips from it on TikTok, but Burnley have released this kind of, it's like a little documentary about their last couple of days of the transfer window, and they've got Edwards in, and there's a scene where one of their kind of big men in their hierarchy is saying, you know, this guy's got Premier League interest, like the money is a real issue here. We're competing, I think they say Palace, maybe a couple others. But it's that he knows Scott Parker, that he came to Burnley. I think it is Edwards is a sliding doors moment in that game for me. With those two runs that he goes on, obviously the first that was unsuccessful and the second where he does kind of get it in the back of the net. I think that's the turning point. I think that's the sliding doors moment of the game for them to have a player that, even though it's totally been swayed the other way and we've been battering them, having a player like that can just kind of snap their fingers and I've just seen that comment. Correct. But just having that moment where you can snap your fingers, you've got a player who can make those two runs and completely change the entire flow of the game is the difference between us and teams like Burnley at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. That the comment that Beth's referring to is our friend Ben, who's just gone. Edwards has got nout on Gassama. Ash, I've left it open for a couple of first half review comments. That's after. If there's anything else that's gone in there, do you just want to give us a sort of a quick update as to what the interwebs, as Dan would call it, is saying?
Yeah, first one is Hergul Magurl. Obviously, my description of the goal. Feel free there, Ash. I drink shorts now before a game. Yeah, if I did that, I wouldn't be seeing the first half or second half.
I've been with you when you're drinking shorts, mate.
Ben's got another comment. Stevie, Marv doesn't track Edwards and just points at him. Yeah, I did watch the game. Neymar at fault again for their first goal, Gary Fox says. And Craig Haywood, not bashing Beadle here, but why, when you're the size of a lamppost, do you shrink to the size of a hobbit? It gives Edwards so much space to shoot into. I don't really think his first three words go with the rest of the sentence. I'm not bashing him, but he's tiny. However, he's shrinking. But yeah, cheers, Craig, for the comment. Craig's all right because he agreed with me earlier, but I didn't put the comment up. Yeah. So
I think we Edwards, he's another one of those young players, isn't it, that's had to go abroad to play his trade. And we've seen it before, haven't we? The likes of Sancho and Bellingham, and obviously they're a level above. But Edwards, Sporting Lisbon, Beth, he played for, weren't it? I think
it was, yeah.
Sporting Lisbon, yeah. Obviously, giant of a club in Portugal, and to get somebody like that into the Championship, it's probably only a handful of teams that can do that. Usually ones that have got parachute payments, which I think Burnley may still have got, maybe on the third year, possibly. I don't know, but yeah, you're talking, and then they bring on Shelby, don't they, later in the game. So it's levels, isn't it? I mean, our squad's still largely, not massively unchanged from last season, and they're bringing a Champions League player into the Championship. So, and the quality was there to see, wasn't it? So,
I think Spurs were after him. I think for 20-odd million. I think was it something like that? Yeah. It
and
was
he's
a lot
Spurs
of money.
Academy, isn't he? He's Spurs Academy. He knew Scott Parker when he was at Spurs. Scott Parker was doing his coaching badges there. I don't quite know the circumstances of how he ended up in Lisbon, but in those clips, that little documentary that's come out over the last couple of days, it's the fact that he's worked with Scott Parker that gets him to the Championship, was all of his other offers were Premier League. So,
yeah, and that's another thing, isn't it? That's the thing when we're talking about it, and you're looking at the pull of these bigger clubs. It's more than just the parachute payments and the fact that they've been Premier League. If you're knocking around and you're wanting to rebuild a career or get your foot in the door in the English game sort of thing, are you going to come to a club? I'm not saying come to Sheffield Wednesday, because I think we're very fortunate in terms of the manager that we've got and the reputation that he has internationally. But when you've got Scott Parker, who's played Champions League football, who's played Premier League, I'll stand correct, I think he's won the Premier League at some point, hasn't he? That sort of reputation, that sort of air of gravitas that these people carry is a massive pulling power, isn't it?
You could say the same for, or what we thought for Danny Rule.
Yeah.
German manager, German assistant manager, Southampton, Bayern Munich. So we thought that we were getting someone who could have that, I don't know, 19 to 22-year-old German, pull. And he hasn't quite yet, has he? So I think, yes, we got Gassama and Masaba who were here before. I think they're two great young players that obviously not as probably. Gassama is one of like an Edwards type for us, Masaba not so much. But I thought Danny Rule might have been able to do that in January for us, being as that we are lacking any sort of money or thing. So I think what Parker's done with Edwards is what I was hoping that Danny Rule might have done with a German youngster or a player, didn't necessarily be German, but from Bayern Munich or any of these other Hansi Flick of Barcelona, from Mestalla.
Let's put a pin in that, because we do have a hot topic tonight that may make a little bit of reference to that. I want to get through, because I can feel that from his deathbed, Dan's probably looking at this going, we're 35 minutes in and we've only just got to half time of the Burnley game. And you know what? He's an absolute stickler for running to time.
Adverts.
I'm going to do the adverts in a minute. Hold that thought. There's just a couple of things that I want to pull in before we get to that. We've referenced in the comments Marvin Johnson and the fact that he's come back into the team, and he's had a bit of a torrid time, if you believe everything that's been said in terms of his personal life. Disclaimer, not an opinion of the podcast. It's just the things that people are saying to us on the socials. He has improved his performances recently, hasn't he? I don't think there'd be too many people that want to dispute that. He had a torrid time against Edwards first half, and the reason that I'm bringing him up, was it the right call to bring him off at half time, given that we conceded 3 goals in the second half? I'm asking the question. People are saying that he was at fault for the first goal. He'd also been booked. John, I'm going to ask you, do you think the fact that he was booked was a reason that he was substituted, or would you attribute that to the fact that we just needed to change it?
I think the lion's share of that decision was the early booking, Stevie. I think, especially with a player like Edwards, who would have been constantly running at him, knowing he was on a yellow. I think one of their players got a yellow, and the commentators were saying Gassama should do the exact same as what they were asking Edwards to do on our booked player. So I think the majority of that decision was the booking, and he were getting a bit of a rinsing, weren't he, from Edwards as well. So the second part obviously be tactical, but for me, I think it was, if we're going to struggle if we go down to 10 men, so I think he was thinking it's not Marv's day. I could do a change as well. So I think mainly it was because of the booking.
I thought it was an injury. I think Craig's just put a comment in here, 100% because he was injured. He did his back according to his missus. But he did go down injured just before, didn't he? And then he got subbed, so I didn't know if it was. Yeah, he was having a bit of a torrid time, but I mean, I'm sure no one would like to get hooked at 45 minutes with only one. It's not like we were 3-0 down at half time. It was only 1-0. But yeah, because he did that with Charles though, didn't he? Just before he announced he was staying, he hooked him at 45, didn't he, with a yellow card? So it might be something that Danny's got in him. If he sees a player that's made 2 or 3 challenges, had a yellow, and then he's nicked one, and the ref said, "Look, your next challenge, that's it." And against Edwards, we've just been lamenting about it for the last 5 minutes, haven't we? There's always the chance in there. So, yeah, maybe we'll never know. Was it the right decision or not? We conceded 3 more goals, so no, it weren't.
Just to play the wet wipe equivalent of devil's advocate, because I'm a bit of a softie with player criticism. We have just spent 5-10 minutes talking about how Marcus Edwards is a cut above the rest at this level, and Marvin's he's obviously been in and out of the team. He's probably not one of the players that Danny's that's a Danny role player. That's the one I want to tie down. He is at fault for the first goal. He does lose his man, but he does get back to Edwards, and it kind of ends up in this kind of weird. Edwards' back, is on Neymar's chest, and it's if he does anything there, Edwards is going to rinse it and get a pen. Like he's probably out of his depth, and if his contract is reportedly it is reportedly up in the summer, he's probably not someone who we're going to keep, and he's probably not someone who's going to get to another championship top half team. Like, just for a bit of realism and being a bit. I'm a softie with player criticism, so just to say, well done.
No, it's much appreciated. And there are a couple of comments that I'm just going to go back to. Gary Fox has been on. Right decision, wrong sub. Should have brought Hatsuse on. I have opinions on that, but we'll hold that because at this point we are going to pause. Chris Rock's going to come and talk to you about buying things and betting and stuff like that. See you in a minute. And we're back. Okay, so half time. We've dragged Marvin Johnson. We brought Otigbayo on. Otigbayo is a player who we've recruited from the free agent market. He was 19 years old, recruited from the free agent market. I think it'd be remiss of us not to mention the fact that he was released by Burnley. We picked him up after it was deemed that Burnley, he was surplus to requirements at Burnley. And again, that's just the point I wanted to make in terms of the levels that we're sort of operating at the moment. A couple of those comments, Ash, alluded to the fact that it was possibly the right call to take Marvin Johnson off and but the wrong call to bring Otigbayo on. Where do you stand with that one?
It's a hard one because we are lacking, like we mentioned earlier, lacking in defence, aren't we? Whichever, and he wanted to bring another centre half on and move low out to the left, weren't it? We conceded 3 goals in the second half. I mean, it's a hard one. It's hard because I'm not the biggest Otigbayo fan. I think he's a youngster, and no doubt he may come good. Is he going to get the required training and learning from Sheffield Wednesday to step up that centre-back position? I'm not quite sure. I don't know. It wasn't the right decision, purely on the fact that we conceded 3 goals with him on the 45 minutes, which is very harsh, statistically way of putting it.
Right. I'm going to follow that question up then, Beth, with one to you ever so quickly. Otigbayo was not the right person to bring on. There's some clamour in the chat, in the comments tonight, that Hatsuse might have been the player that we should have brought on. Where do you stand on that one, given that he came in late and has been training with the club, but we haven't actually seen him kick a ball in England before? What are we basing the decision that Hatsuse should have come on with on?
I mean, if we're going philosophical, it's probably just like, he's the unknown, isn't it? We know Otigbayo can be a bit mid, and maybe Hatsuse is the answer at the point where the defence is shot and we're all looking for answers. By the point that we were 4-0 down and Rio was on, or whatever the timeline exactly was, we were down big time. Maybe it would have been the right decision. I mean, Rio Hatsuse was sorry to jump ahead, but was my kind of silver lining of that game at that point, and thought he had a very promising cameo. What did he get? 15-20 minutes at the end? Like, chuck him another
78th minute came in, and we were 3-0 down.
Chuck him another half hour then, like, why not?
Yeah, fair. John, I'm going to come to you. I'm going to fast forward to the next chance that Wednesday had. 55th minute, Armstrong, another one of those side foot opportunities that he glances just past the left post. It was fine margins again, wasn't it? I'm coming to you to ask the question. What have you made of Armstrong over the last 2-3 games? He came in at very short notice. It was a bit of a surprise. How do you think he's settled into the first 11?
Yeah, it's a good question because he was on pre-season with Vancouver Whitecaps, and so I don't think he had much football. Obviously, we're in way past the midpoint mark now in our season, so he's not had a lot of game time. He's a player that Rule knows from his time at Southampton. He's played well. When I've seen him before at Southampton, he had some good games and scored some good goals. So I like the signing. even though some were questioning, he's 32, but 32 is, like I've said before, is like the new 29 in modern football. If you're looking after yourself, it's not kind of the same deal as it used to be. So I like the signing. Age didn't concern me. So far, what I've seen from him is he does still look a little bit rusty in games. I still think he's getting his match sharpness back. I think we'll see the best of Armstrong in the games to come. But I can see he does forge a good trio with Charles and Bannon in that midfield. And when he is up to match sharpness, I think that's a really good sort of diamond, if you like, that we have in that midfield. So he's getting there. And obviously he should have scored. Obviously he missed that sitter, didn't he, in the first half, and then had that other chance what you mentioned there. I do like him, and I think the best is yet to come. We've just got to be a little bit patient with him because he didn't have a lot of football prior to joining us.
Yeah. Okay. For those people that are watching, as we said, we keep welcoming your comments. If you've got any viewpoints on players that have played, players that aren't playing, players that we're sort of not given an opportunity to, I can see that one or two have come into the comments. I'm going to be coming to Ash in a couple of minutes just to sort of get some feedback from you lot. So keep them coming in. Beth, I'm going to come back to you on the second goal. 62 minutes. Josh Brownhill, 6 yards. He'd been on the pitch for about 30 seconds. Talk me through it.
Let me find that bit in my notes. Right, the second.
Notes? Look at the new bit coming.
Look at it. Baptism by fire from Mr. Spence.
I got the late call. I was stressed. I've been cramming like it's like the night before my GCSEs. Like,
I'm gonna feel while Beth just familiarise herself.
I've got it. We're all good.
Coming on, showing us up with prep and notes and stuff.
That's it.
I've not fluffed my notes on this one, but I kind of thought the first two goals are a bit of the kind of chasm in quality, and it's the second two, the third and fourth, which are the ones that are like, we really should have done better for those. So the second one, it's not quite as intense as in like, wow, what an amazing player as the Marcus Edwards goal is, but that's still a player who is a cut above ours, in my opinion, and it's annoying, but again, it's one of those, in my opinion, at least, you can kind of chalk down to that's a really good player, and it's a moment where we've got our heads down because we've been hammering them, and now it's coming off.
Yeah. Well, you've just, I think I could absolutely concur with you there. The first two goals, even with the second goal, it's right. The second goal sort of was the final nail in the coffin for me. However, we were still there, and then the third goal went in, and it's that is it the Martin meme from The Simpsons where Stoppy's already dead. By that point, we'd got to it, and the third and fourth goal were very much we'd done. White flags were waving, sort of thing. But we'll get to those very quickly. Before we do, Ash, have we got any comments?
Yeah, Gary Fox has said thought Armstrong was very good. When he went off, though, we lost the midfield.
I thought it was a bit interesting. Sorry, read the next comment, mate. Sorry.
Craig Haywood. One thing I noticed, Bannon looked unimpressed with Armstrong was taken off. The three looks really good. Creatively, we look better with him in. And the last one is Ben. I like Armstrong, and from what I saw of Ryu, Sissoko, on the other hand. I know.
I want to super quick get through the third and fourth goal because there are a couple of points I just want to pick on very briefly around substitutions of the players. Third goal, John. It was a bit of a shit show, really, wasn't it? Nobody dealt with it. Ihekwe fluffed these lines. Charles tries to clear it, clears it straight into Ugbo. Ugbo looks pretty disinterested. Valerie seemed to be ambling on in the right back position. Connor Roberts steals in at the back stick or centre of the goal. Side puts it in. Shea Charles head in hands. Where were you with that third goal?
Oh, it like you said, Steve. It was like when after the second goal, it was almost like like white flags were flying. And what were frustrating with it, when the ball was pinging around the edge of our box, and no one seemed to get a hold of it. No one seemed to be decisive enough to just get it clear, get rid of it. And obviously, it rolls back in, finds its way out onto that left-hand side. and then they put a ball in, which we should have been doing all game. But the point is they took their chances. They put a quality ball into the box, and there was a man there, wasn't there, following it in. It was an easy tapping, really, wasn't it, for him? And it's just like, that's what we should have been doing in the first half. But we didn't, that Armstrong, he puts that in, it's completely different. That were a quality ball that came into Armstrong. The difference were he put ours wide, and theirs is just an easy tapping. And I think by that point, it's just like, oh dear, I think, I feared that we might be on another. I know it ended 4-0, but at that point, I genuinely thought this could be a bad collapse, and we might end up seeing 5 or 6 here, because it was clear that they knew that the game was up, to be honest. So it were very slack, and it's one of them chucking his chewing gum moment, I think, for Danny Rule. I've seen him do that before, just thinking like, how are we coming out of this game with nothing? How are we coming out looking like we've been soundly beaten, which the scoreline says we've been soundly beaten. But as you know, you guys were both there and I watched on TV, that was a game we were very much a part of for, certainly first half and up until the second goal, really. And then after that, it was gone, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then very, very quickly, fourth goal, Stanch, Rocket, absolutely hammered it. 96th minute, game done. The reason I'm going quickly with that. Go on.
Sorry, Stevie. Last one there. No one closed him down, did they? Like exactly what John said. Eds had gone. There were no closing down or anything. It was a good goal. I'm not taking that away from a guy, but you do want someone on him quicker. He's going to take you don't know, but you take a thing of getting to your man quickly, don't you?
You suspect. No disagreement from me there. Sorry, Beth, go on.
I was going to say, it's his trademark goal, isn't it? If you watched the Championship 2 seasons ago, he scored that goal 4 times over, identically. And if he's in that position, go to him, man. Carry on. Sorry.
Question for you then. Sort of segueing between the fourth goal that's conceded and just a question around our goalkeeper, who was very much maligned following the dropping of the ball against Coventry. Dan had called it Adrian Durham radio. I'm going to put a question out there. Would you attribute blame towards Beadle for any of the 4 goals on Friday night? One word answer, John.
No.
Beth.
No.
Ash.
There's a lot more going on before any of them get to Beadle, but no.
That's the longest one word I've ever seen him.
No,
okay.
I couldn't.
No, I tend to. It was just a point that came to me, and that Matt Strickland actually just put up a comment on regarding the referee, and I made a comment in I think it was the LMS chat actually. There's been referees that have been that we've kind of got after a game of football that for their ineptitude, their inability to be able to sort of referee and control the game. It felt to me like a championship game on Friday night was a little bit too big for him. And I know that there may be Burnley fans that come at me and they might clip it and so on and so forth. However, he seemed to me to favour the home side. I don't know if you guys agree with that. Ash, I'll come to you.
I do indeed. I think some of the decisions and when you've looked back at the highlights, it hasn't shown you the actual fouls and decisions and yellow cards. There was a couple that were frankly disgusting. I think it should have been a yellow card. There was like a forearm smash on Gassama, I think it was, that was a bit tasty and there was a bit niggly. And then booking Gassama as well. I mean, I think you come away as a 4-0 loss and you sound bitter, don't you? But it wasn't like that at all. We did get soundly beaten in the second half, but I think some of the refs' decisions were questionable again. But that didn't cause us to lose a game. Should I put that? So
yeah, fair point. Okay, I'm gonna park it there because it's 53 minutes into the pod and we've done one subject and I had about 5 or 6 that I wanted to get through. So I'm going to get through the rest of them. Beginning with this evening's, Beth, cover your ears. I want to see you cover your ears. Cover your ears. Tonight's
Hot Topic.
You can uncover your ears.
And I thought you were going to say something like really controversial about women's football or something. Then, Stevie, what are you saying about
women's football? There will be no slander from me at all.
No,
Absolutely
no.
not.
I thought you were going into I was segueing into your next thing.
No. I'm going to call. I've given it a title. I've even given it a title. The title of tonight's hot topic is Danny versus Dapon. Now, it's a topic that I know people might roll their eyes at and sort of think, oh my God, we're here and we're talking about it again. However, I want to go not to the starting 11s, but the squad. Thunderbird just saying I thought it was safe without fudge. Sorry, guys. I don't want to go to the starting 11. I want to go to the squad. It was clear, having looked at their bench and the players that they brought off the bench, and I know we can talk about the millions of pounds that they've got. We don't have the money to compete in terms of the parachute payments, etc. The question I'm going to ask tonight, looking at that, there is more depth with Burnley for the reasons that we've just discussed. However, do we feel that January's transfer window has cost us to an extent in terms of the alleged unrest between the chairman and the manager? Could more have been done? Should more have been done? Where do we sit with it, John?
Oof. Wow. Yeah. So could more have been done? Absolutely. Should more have been done? Yes, of course. And I think it's probably a strong word, but I think it was borderline malpractice not to get another centre half in. I really do. And I think when it's all said and done, we're going to look, and you mentioned it earlier on in the episode, Stevie, you know, if we want to go for it, it's got to be this year, because you don't get many seasons where you're going to get a chance, particularly when you're at a club that's got limited resources like we are. But we were to look back at the end of the season and miss the playoffs by, I don't know, 3-4 points, and you could have done more in the January window and got in there, then that's a huge opportunity missed, in my opinion. And, you know, hopefully we have some ridiculous upturn in form, we can get there. But I do think we were misguided not to at least get another centre half in, one or two players in that January window. You're not going to get opportunities like this. They don't come along every season. So for me, you should have done more.
Oh, I can see that Ash has put some comments up. Please, if you're watching, you're getting involved, please continue to get your comments in so that we can get them up and we can have a chat about those as well. I've asked the question to John. I'm going to put a slightly different spin on it for you, Beth. In terms of Danny versus Dapon, if everything that we've heard, read, seen, been told is to be believed, who's to blame?
Oh, Stevie! Wow.
I might have to say,
ask that.
I know I'm like here at my best behaviour, but I might have to be a bit controversial here. Like, we know Chansiri is difficult. I don't know of a manager that we've had that hasn't had an issue with Chansiri. Maybe this one is on Danny. You know, there's obviously been a lack of pragmatism from him there to be like, put away whatever it is. I know I'm obviously not privy to what happened between the rumours with, I don't know, Southampton or these various disagreements that have kind of alluded to how the issue arose. But like, he's all the managers have had issues. He's the one who's got one that's become so public and had such a kind of obvious impact on a transfer window, if not a season. So if I had to, I think they're both been big babies, but if I had to go on one of them, to be honest, he's been the exception to the rule in this case.
It's like it's almost like the year sevens that have had a falling out, the boyfriend girlfriend in year seven that have had a falling out, and then they're going, no, you go and talk to him. No, send her a message. Back in 1990s, before the mobile phone, it sort of fast blew up. Sending little notes to each other and getting the mates to hand them over and things like that.
Men are so dramatic. Oh my God, what are you doing?
Okay, Ash, forgive me. I don't know if we've got any comments that we can pull on. And then if you just want to give us your sort of viewpoint in terms of where we are with Danny versus Dapon. Yeah. I get the vibe, but you're kind of, I'm not saying that you are rolling your eyes a little bit, let's move on sort of thing, but
no.
Where do you stand?
I don't know, to be honest. It's one of those, because obviously if you don't listen to rumours or anything, you're looking at the lack of bringing in cover in January. Or what Danny says is impact players, but not impact as in coming off the last 20 minutes or something. He wanted impact to the first 11. That's what he's always said. And I still don't, and I haven't got a clue what the transfer policy is. Who talks to who about who wants who? Do you go as a Danny, as the team leader? Do you go to your boss and say, I need some extra people, like I fancy this guy and all this, or does the manager go to his team leader and say, look, I want you to improve. What do you need? And that relationship we've said, like, has it because somebody didn't pick up a phone for 3 weeks of January, and then it was the fans forum, and then things were said, and then a couple of days later it's like, oh yeah, we talked, we've done X, Y, Z. I don't know. All you got was that the chairman and the owner has a transfer advisors, maybe, or committee that is the guy Beadle still there?
Kevin Beale, yeah.
Kevin Beadle, yeah. So does Danny go to him and say, I want 3 centre halves and 3 strikers? These are the players, and go out and get them, and then they go, right, Mr. Chansiri, we need £5 million for all these loans or whatever. And unless you understand that, we don't actually know, do we? Because if you're wanting, and I do believe the Southampton thing was an issue as well, because if you're wanting to succeed in your job, I would be knocking on his door every day going, I need a centre-half, I need a centre-half, I need a centre-half, I need a striker. If you want me to progress this team and you want to sell it, and you want to sell it as a Premier League team, I want this and it's going to cost us 500 grand. If the owner turned around and went, no, you're not having no money, then fair enough. But we will never know that, will we? We don't know if Danny's gone, here's a list of 10 players, and then the owner's gone, no. Oh, you can have him for 50 grand. Oh no, you can have that centre half, and then the selling team have pulled out on the 24th hour or whatever the term is, 12th hour.
Mate, I don't know if you've had a chance to have a look at a couple of the comments that have gone up. If you're in a position to sort of go through a couple of those with us.
Yeah, Matt Strickland, well said, Beth.
Thanks.
And Dunderbird, exactly, Ash. So we're getting some good feedback here. David Singleton, did Danny tell the truth in what we had someone and their team pulled out? Can't see him saying that to cover DC. See, that's a good point, isn't it? Like I say, it's cheers, Dunderbird, 11th hour, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
yeah. Right. So that was tonight's hot topic. I'm not going to play the graphic again. Or will I? Last couple of bits. We're just over the hour mark, and we do have a lot more to talk about. I'm going to pull a couple of bits that we're going to put to the wayside for maybe some polls on socials in the week. But I didn't want to talk to you guys tonight and have this conversation without mentioning the Derby release or Derby ticket releases that have come out today. For those of us that may or may not have seen, just to keep everybody in loop, Sheffield Wednesday have released a pricing strategy for the upcoming Derby on March the 16th, and the tickets are coming in at £45 for the Cop and 55 on the South, I believe it is. In terms of the Derby Day ticket prices, we've got a fancy little graphic here that I should have put up before I even mentioned it, to be fair, that Dan has prepared for us earlier on this evening. As you can see from that, the Cop, we've got the adults, members are in at 40, non-members at 45. You can go down, pick your category there as we're looking at it on the screen at the moment. The Northern Grandstand, we're coming in at £45. If you're an adult, and I haven't looked at it properly, but my sister sent a message tonight, bless her, who's got a ticket for my sister-in-law, and they are paying £55 to come and watch the Steel City Derby on March the 16th. Some people will obviously throw their arms up in the air and start talking, shaking the fists at the sky and so on and so forth. But I'd be really curious to hear your viewpoints in terms of where you are with the thoughts on the ticket prices. Should we be outraged and shocked at this stage, given that we've talked about it before, or should we just sort of accept it now? Beth, what do you think?
No, I mean it's emblematic of a wider kind of issue in football. To bring a stat to the table, I heard at an FSA Football Support Association conference fairly recently that if a loaf of bread had inflated at the same price as a football ticket since 1990, it'd be a fiver for a loaf of bread. I love that stat. I just think it's terrible. Yeah, the EFL generally has been allowed to run wild with price, and as is our owner, especially. The Premier League, luckily, I guess, have slightly more regulation thanks to the Football Supporters Association. I tried to do a bit of more research on it. I tried to look at the last time this fixture happened, and in 2017 it was £32 for a Wednesday night to watch the game at Bramall Lane and £37 to watch at the home fixture from the Cop, which is still awful. Like, I'm someone who has been priced out of going to the football fairly recently, and I will be able to go to the derby thanks to the changing circumstances generally. The comments are distracting me, sorry. But
you'll get used to it.
But yeah, it's embarrassing. I will bring probably my sister to the game with me, and having to text her today being like, oh, by the way, it's like 45 quid. Like, my sister's a Wednesday fan. She comes a few times a season and she'll want to come to a big game, but it is exploiting loyalty. And is £50 or so going to be the limit to blind loyalty? I kind of hope so, because it is unsustainable when you're a match-to-match fan like me who lives 40, 50 miles away and can only get there every so often. It's really disheartening. And yeah, I don't know where we go, but I mean, there's a football regulator coming in, so maybe they can help. I'm trying to not get carried away. I can yap about this for ages.
Yeah. It's interesting, and not to disagree with the point that you've made, but we did do a little bit, and it'd be remiss of me on balance not to sort of share a few other stats with you. And these have come up, and I knew this would happen. Excuse the terrible graphic. I need to have a word with the podcast admin. But where we are at the moment, if you're looking at the screen, is the pricing strategies and structures for comparative derbies. Starting with Manchester United versus Manchester City. If you wanted to go and watch the Manchester derby, it would cost anywhere between £80 and £120. Disclaimer, all of these ticket prices have gone for non-members, and the research has been done by a very poorly done fudge. So if anything's ever so slightly out, that's where we are with it. Don't blame me or Ash. We're on here now. The mouthpieces for Dan Fudge. Arsenal versus Tottenham, £75 to £107. Their Premier League, that's North London. It's Manchester, the home of football, in inverted commas. We could argue that between Manchester, Sheffield, and everywhere else. However, if you want to look at comparative in terms of the Championship, you've got Blackburn Burnley at £35, Preston versus Blackburn at £32, Luton versus Watford at £32, and Cardiff versus Swansea at £25. Now, I appreciate and totally understand that there's a difference between same city derbies, and we're talking about Arsenal versus Tottenham. However many teams we tend to have in London makes it a bit of a different story, because there's a derby every other week if you're living down there. Manchester is Manchester in terms of the Premier League and everything that they're peddling at the moment. John, how do you feel about those prices in comparison to the others that you've seen?
It's stark reading, isn't it? When you look at it like that, and that graphic that we're up there charging that kind of money for, you can rebrand it, you can call it what you want. It's second division football, and we are charging that kind of money. I feel quite embarrassed at times, and I feel very frustrated for some of our fans that can't make it because of that. I think one of the things that has never really sunk in with our chairman is that, and he's been here 10 years now, let's not forget, is that he once famously said that our money means nothing. Yeah, that was an actual direct quote that he said at one of the forums. And yet he feels fit to, or people around him or whatever it is, feel fit to set those pricing categories and those prices. I just don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right. You know, I've said it in jest, but we're a working class city. We aren't London and the rich parts of the world and where the capitalism is. We're a working class Yorkshire city, and people can't afford that kind of money on a consistent basis, and nor should they. I mean, let's not forget, and I'm not going to go on a rant because we push for time, but you know, we're paying that kind of money. But what's the quality? That's like, you know, at least when you're paying for something, like let's say you shop at Sainsbury's or Marks and Spencer's, you're getting that bit extra quality. We're charging that kind of money for a squad that's had not much upgrade from last season and is working wonders because of the genius of Danny Rule. Nothing more. We haven't gone out and had an influx of players, and we might think, well, yeah, it's 50 quid, but look, you know, we've signed X, Y, and Z, and we're pushing for the playoffs or we're pushing for the top two. No, it's none of that. I don't get it. I've never got it, and I feel sorry for the fans that can't go because of it.
Strong words, John, and words that I can't necessarily disagree with. Ash, I'm going to give you the final word. Where are you with the pricing? And I'll ask you a question. What do you think would have been a fair price?
Right. I'm going to go against what everyone else has said, and I'm going to get slaughtered for this. And the prices were announced in August or July, were they? So this is not a surprise to everyone because of the banding, A to H or whatever. So everyone knew that the United game was going to be an A banding. So we knew what the prices were going to be, or we should have done. So it's not nothing new, but that doesn't excuse obviously the prices. But I'm taking it, and this is not a I'm all right, Jack, because I've got a season ticket. I'm not like that. But what I'm saying is, we've criticised the owner for being a bad businessman and everything. So if you've got a product that you know you're going to make maximum money from, and I firmly believe that if the tickets were 60 quid, that it'd sell out. I do, because people want to go to the game. And there is games like that in the world. And if you're from Sheffield or from around Yorkshire, and I would imagine that, like Beth just said, her sister's going to go. She goes to 3 or 4 or 5 games, but she wants to go to United. Of course she does. She wants to go to the biggest game of the season. And there's going to be people like that. So he is making maximum money and for the minimum investment for him, because the policing, everything's going to be the same cost, no doubt, to him. So he's going to fill the stadium on probably the only day of the season where he's going to make the most money. And with thinking him is he can't afford X, Y, Z. And he's come around and said, well, I'm going to charge you. Yes, it's bad that he's charging the fans and he's not putting it into his own pocket. But as a business decision, I can't fault it, if you know what I mean. And I know that's going to be controversial. Probably fans saying he's rinsing the fans again. He's rinsing the fans. And yes, but he's making a business decision where we've always accused him of being. And yes, there is things behind the scenes and at the club that he should concentrate on more about getting money in. Probably the, I don't know, concessions or selling faster beer or charging more in the for sponsorship and things like that. So yeah, that's it. I know it's not probably the right way of going about it, but as a business decision, I think he's going to want to maximise his income. Yes, you're paying top dollar for not just the team though. You look around, the fan zone is poor, the shop's poor, the facilities are poor and everything. But he's just thought, I can make as much money as I can, so do it. And if you look on the thing, after one day, I think there's only about 3,000 tickets left. I think that's the thing, isn't it? And that just sort of, it's a nice way to sort of sum up that discussion there. Is one that I'll always go back to is Dan, who will always say it doesn't matter how much he charges, we're going to sell. We have this outrage and this sort of massive conversation about whether or not it's the right thing to. We've just lost Beth. I hope she comes back. It's the right thing or wrong thing to price it. The strategy around pricing is what it is. However, we throw our arms up in the air as Yorkshiremen, but at the end of the day, we throw our arms up in the air and then we pay it. Now, if you're a businessman, as everything that you've just said there, Ash, if you're a businessman, you are going to be inclined to say, right, I want more money
So I'm going to charge those prices, and we're going to get it over the line. And to the point we're making, to make it a more sustainable sort of or viable sort of company, if you like, we're going to do that, and that's just the way that it is.
But I agree. He should. There should be low prices, but he's an opportunist. He's not opportunist, but he's charging people for that. And like I said, you're going to get thing. But the only way that you're going to stop that, I think, is people not go. But I'm going.
You're not going to
be
go.
Thousands of people who've got it. It's their ritual. It's their escape. We've gone through this discussion millions of times, but it's the same, isn't it? People are not going to go. So if we got the season tickets, if we've sold, I don't know, 18,000 season tickets, Sheffield United are going to get given 2,800 tickets or something like that. There should only be 21,000 people there. But there's not. There's going to be 34,000 there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Because people want to go to the game. And people say, well, it's not as easy as not paying. It is. I think it is.
It's exactly that. It's exactly that, mate. Have we had any other comments just on that sort of discussion point before we start to wrap things up?
Matt Strickland says he should sell more half and half scarves. Imagine that. Oh, hey, has anyone ever seen one of them? A Wednesday United one? Did they do one for the FA Cup or anything like that?
I'm not gonna lie, mate. I've just vomited in my mouth a little bit.
You've got one, ain't you, Stevie?
No.
Gary Fox doesn't agree with me. He says it's not the point, Ash. He's ripping us off. Plus, he's not investing it back in the team. It might be. It might just be the 50 grand a week wages Bannon's on, or he has been on for the last God knows how long. But he agrees with you, John. So I'm not Gary's biggest fan, but thanks for the comment. Chef Cam is go on, spot on, John. I don't think we've had as many people agree with you, John, ever.
We're going to rename the show.
Yeah. Dave Reed, fans are certainly being priced out. Without my season ticket, I wouldn't be able to afford it.
I think it's a really useful conversation that we just sort of touched on, and we can only scratch the surface in an hour-long podcast. It's a topic within itself, and I'm sure it's one that we'll go back and revisit, over the coming sort of weeks before we get to the end of the season. Go on, Ash.
Sorry, Stevie. Hergul McGurgle's just put, who wants to sacrifice something they love? And that is just what I mean. So if Hergul McGurgle, he will pay £80 if the ticket's next year. That's what I'm saying. That he knows people are going to keep coming back. So we're saying you can't complain about ticket prices if we're still going to sell 34,000. It's mad, isn't it? Because people are going to want to go.
Yeah. Okay. As I said, it's an interesting talking point, and one that I'm sure we'll come back to, and we'll mention it again and again and again and again over the next sort of weeks and months. We've gone long. Dan's probably shaking somewhere in a corner. We're at an hour, coming up to an hour and 20. Before I let you guys get off, have we got any other business? I know that there are a couple of bits I want to reference.
Yeah, I've got one. We had a message in the chat earlier from Ian. I'll just put it up. What he says is, Ash, when you get a chance, can you mention that Owls America are having a get-together in Tampa, Florida on the March the 29th? Details on Owls America forum, so long as Sky don't change the bleeding date. Every year I believe Owls America get together. I am wanting to go, and I've been wanting to go for a few years, but I don't think that away days in my remit, to be honest. But if you are in Tampa on the 29th, drop the guys a message, and I'm sure they'll welcome you in blue and white. So cheers, Ian, for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, the couple that I've got, we'll start with the big money one. Today last night we launched privately. We're gonna this week be launching Last Man Standing 6. It was won this weekend by our Danish friend Pete Lohman, who earned just under £600 in Last Man Standing by correctly selecting Brighton in the final two. Arsenal went out this weekend. for those of you that are involved, just keep doing what you're doing. You know the rules by now. For anybody that is new or maybe new to the process and would like to get involved, we have a wonderful last man standing community with all the graphics and all the information that you can see on the screen there, that is responsible for us in terms of getting a group together that is a group of like-minded Wednesdayites that chat irreverent nonsense throughout the week and then moan and whinge every Saturday or every match day. But for the £10 of the pleasure, you also get to get involved with a little bit of the last man standing competition that we've set up. That goes live this week, and the deadline will be a week on Friday. So get your £10 in and you can get involved with that. Keep an eye on the socials. And then the final one, I'm going to hand over to you, my friend Ash, just to re-push and plug our new and now annual Easter egg drop. Graphics on the screen.
Yeah.
Take it away, mate.
Yeah, we can call it annual now, can't we? Yeah, so launched last week, announced last week. Yeah, we are going to be at the Hull City home game and Oxford United home games to collect some Easter eggs off anyone who would like to donate them to our charity partners. Also, not mentioned last week, but last year we gave away, for anyone who donated an egg, got put into a hat, and they won a home or away Sheffield Wednesday shirt. This time it's going to be a £75 voucher for the Mega Store. So you can get as much tat, as much...
Get a match day ticket.
You can get a match day ticket for the... No, because the derby's before, isn't it? But, you can get a tape measure with the Aussie Owl face on it. You can get a scarf, just the one, a hat. You could even get a shirt. Or you could probably still get a 2022 home shirt for about 60 quid. So you've got enough for that. So anyone who donates an egg, those games. Also, if you want to collect them at work, I know this is a big ask. If you want to set up a little donation station at work or anything, if you want to DM us, I'll send you the graphics you can print out. And I will, if there's enough, I will even come and pick them up from you, save you bringing them to the game. So, if anyone would like to, 674, I think it was last year, is the target. So you've all got something. You've all got something to aim for. So cheers, Stevie. It's great.
No, mate, you don't need to thank me. It's your big brain that's decided that this is something that we should be doing, and it's a fantastic cause that we're doing it for. 674 over 3 games. We only have 2. Just to reiterate that. So if you're thinking about doing it and you are going to be able to get to the games, I've shared it privately with a couple of WhatsApp groups. Feel free to spread it far and wide. It's a fantastic cause. Again, Sheffield Children's Hospital and PACT, I believe it is, that we're doing it for again this year. It goes such a long way, and it's something that the club got behind last year, and we want to keep it growing. It's nothing that we get anything out of other than being able to provide something for people that need it, a lot more than we do, to be honest with you. But thank you, Ash, for you coming up with what is a fantastic initiative that I think everybody involved with the podcast should be really proud of.
I have any other business as well. I know, sorry, I didn't tell you, I've just thought of it or thing. One thing we don't push enough of is that our the reason for Last Man Standing and all the stuff that we do and any monies we're getting from YouTube or anything like that goes to our community fund. And that is for any of you guys that know or need yourself help with getting to the games. We've just been on about the price of tickets. So if you can't get to a game, you would like to go to a game for the first time and take one of your kids or a parent or anything like that, please just get in touch and we will see if we can help you with getting to see Sheffield Wednesday and impart some of that. What's the negativity on you? Spoiling your weekend. Pain. Yeah. But please do. Just you email us, DM us on the social medias, anything like that. If you know somebody or yourself finding it difficult to get to games, then we will endeavour to help you. That's what it's there for. So please make use of it.
Just one last thing off the back of that before we say goodbye. I know that it can be a very difficult thing to sort of ask for help. and it can be something that you might feel that you're a little bit uncomfortable doing. On our DMs, we're absolutely faceless. We're not going to sort of exploit anything. It's not gratitude. We're not looking for any sort of gratification. We won't be sharing anything. If you want some help, let us help you. And it's as simple as that, really. Okay. Right. I'm going to go before an hour and a half because Dan's going to absolutely blow his lid. Sorry, Dan. Sorry, boss man. Sorry. John, thank you so much. Just a final comment there from Dave. It's okay not to be okay, and I couldn't agree more with that. If you know and follow our things, it's a real thing that we're all about. Beth, you've survived. How'd you find it?
Thank you for having me. I hope I've filled a quarter of Dan's shoes and hopefully behaved a bit better than he does.
You've absolutely behaved better than he does.
Yeah, massively on both counts. Yeah.
And thanks for everybody on all the social medias that have got involved this evening. It's a nerve-wracking thing when you have to do the presenting rather than the chatting. Thank God that's over. I'm going to go and get a beer, and I'll see you later.
Every week, live from 8 p.m. It's the Wednesday Week, bringing you football analysis.
He came in. I think he scored a goal.
Bringing you banter.
Yeah.
Bringing you responsible life hacks.
Met you wonderful souls at 10 a.m. for some shots.
The Wednesday Week. 1, 2, 3, 4 live. Available on all social medias.
Obviously, this goes out on YouTube and as well as all the other social media out there, podcasts, etc.
The Wednesday Week 24-25 season. Join us.
Put on your podcast.